So, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a long time since we had any reason to say the name Milo Yiannopoulos. And maybe this story is not a coincidence in that regard. Maybe this story is a function of someone wanting people to say his name again.
Who?
Milo Yiannopoulos.
Right.
My point is that maybe...
I got that.
Right. So this is from LifeSite News.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, what are you going to do? It's the only people reporting about it. Nobody else cares. He probably has some friends there. Anyways.
Friends.
LifeSite News reports, March 9th, 2021, Milo Yiannopoulos, the gay man, who conservative messaging and willingness to speak the truth sparked riots on university campuses, may well trigger more outrage now that he describes himself as ex-gay and sodomy-free, and is leading a daily consecration to St. Joseph online. Let's just take a quick break. Brendan, who's that?
That's anti-Catholic, Sam.
No, it's not.
St. Joseph?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be Jesus's non-father father?
I thought it was Jesus.
He's the patron saint of workers and associated with various feast days.
Well, I don't get it. Well, all right. Well, let me read some of this then.
Yeah, Joseph is a figure of canonical gospels who's married to Mary, mother of Jesus.
Oh, that guy. Okay. Yeah. All right. Sorry, didn't know.
His dad. Or not his dad. Sorry, his stepdad.
When I used to kid, imagine. Okay, and LifeSite says, I imagine to many that follow you, your recent decision to publicly identify as Milo, ex-gay, may seem like a 180-degree turn, as opposed to when he identified as Milo, presently gay. Are you surprised your life has taken this turn? Or is it unsurprising, a natural and perhaps inevitable progression in your life to become ex-gay?
Yeah.
And he says, well, when I used to kid, I became that I only became gay to torment my mother. I wasn't entirely joking. He said, of course, I was never wholly at home in the gay lifestyle. Milo was never wholly at home in the gay lifestyle, incidentally. I mean, who is? Who could be?
Well, it's just a way to get back at your mom. Every kid does that.
And only leaned heavily into it in public because it drove liberals crazy to see a handsome, charismatic, intelligent gay man riotously celebrating conservative principles. So his conservatism wasn't fake. His gayness was.
I would say, yeah. I think the bigger problem is he's ex-attention worthy. But I also... what does this mean for his whole "I'm not a racist" defense? Because that whole thing was like was either married or dating a black man. So if he's no longer if that relationship is over, I guess he's racist then.
Well, he might have to date
officially say.
Might have to date a black woman. He's just got to find one, but a woman to date. But
he said at one point that now his okay, in what ways has this impacted your personal and social life? Well, the guy I live with has been demoted to housemate, which hasn't been easy for either of us.
So he broke up with him, and now they're roommates?
Now they're roommates. It helps that I can still just about afford to keep him in Givenchy and a new Porsche every year. Could be worse for him, I guess. You know,
right.
He broke. I mean, I'm starting to think this is I'll be honest with everybody. I think this is a joke. I don't think he's ex-gay.
He's trolling. I mean, he says, I treat it like an addiction. You never stop being an alcoholic. I hope people will support and pray for me, if for no other reason than they share my delight at the prospect of Milo Yiannopoulos, he refers to himself in the third person, furiously and indignantly railing against homosexuals for sins of the flesh. Over the next decade, I would like to rehabilitate what the media calls conversion therapy. So basically, he's going to go to conversion therapy, and then he also added trannies are demonic.
He needs a way into religious money. I mean, this is a guy who's been basically deplatformed from everything. He lives on attention, like pays his rent off of it, and this is a way to get it.
Yeah, he has. I mean, this is without a doubt a job application. This is basically it. I mean, if he's not already getting paid for this.
Oh my goodness. There's going to be some closeted conversion therapy televangelist here in the United States who's going to be like, I want to talk to him for...
He's going to be able to go around
reasons.
on the whole, there's a whole probably circuit, and he'll be able to go around now. And it's interesting because didn't he say like during the Trump thing that he was like going to make everybody pay? There was something like that. This guy's, it's fascinating. He says, my own life changed dramatically, though it crept up on me while I wasn't paying attention. I'm someone who responds to micromanagement and accountability, so I found counting days an effective bulwark against sin. In the last 250 days, I've only slipped once, which is a lot better than I predicted I would do. So good for him.
Congrats on the one time you had sex in 250 days.
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious as to
He thinks it's a brag, but I'm just like...
I wonder if he's not having sex either with women because he's not married, right? Yeah, this is
I
all
wonder
just...
if he's not having sex with women because he's gay.
That's also possible. I think what he's doing is trying to position, there's going to be a huge, we just got an IM about it, and it's obvious around the country, there's a massive transphobia push. They're going to, it's going to be, the right is going to be talking about immigrants and trans people. And the best is the last line is pretty good, too, of this, where he says, as you might expect, my professional priorities are shifting somewhat, given my new spiritual preoccupations. Over the next decade, I'd like to help rehabilitate, like you read this, what the media calls conversion therapy. It does work, albeit not for everybody. As for my other aspirations and plans, well, no change. I always considered abortion to be the preeminent moral horror of human history. I'll keep saying so, even more loudly than before, and be allowed to go on those programs. This is me editorializing. And be allowed to go on those programs now that I am officially not gay.
Even more loudly because someone will be listening to me.
Yep. And they say, if you let one sin in, others will follow. And now I truly know what that means. As I've begun to resist sinful sexual urges, I found myself drinking less, smoking less. You name it. I confess my weakness for designer shoes and handbags is yet to dissipate. But
yeah, as he brags about his housemate giving him Givenchy,
no, he gives it to his housemate.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, so I guess he's purging himself of the luxury items.
Well, no, apparently he can buy them and just keep his gay housemate
happy
is what he's trying to say.
They're not sleeping together anymore.
Right, because they're not sleeping. He's just a roommate. Handbags yet to dissipate. But I'm coming to realize, however slowly, that lust, per Augustine, I would imagine that's Saint Augustine, is disordered desire for all sorts of things, not just NFL players. I mean, this guy's, he's joking. I think the whole thing is, is a put on some level. I would,
of course.
And you know what the brilliance though of I've slipped one time in the past 250 days is? That means that someone would have to find 2 instances of him slipping, and then it's just like, oh, I lost count.
Yeah.
Like if you say I have not engaged in any type of sexual activity for 250 days, someone comes up with one, then you're in big trouble. But if you don't make it binary, but rather you put yourself on a sliding scale, well, I want to say that I'm ex-gay, but really I'm just less gay.
Right.
Right? I mean, basically and you give yourself an out.
And he still has a weakness for NFL players, which, again, the part of his long history of overly sexualizing often black bodies, but I digress. He as if that's it's just a vice, it's such just bizarre framing.
Here's the slip I think people should remember of Milo is if you're talking about whether or not he's gay, you're not talking about whether or not he's a white supremacist. So there you go.
Wait, what was that?
That was him singing karaoke with Richard Spencer and other Nazis, sig hailing in the crowd.
Yep.
Oh, jeez.
We should say that unless he gets gay again, we're probably not going to talk about Milo Yiannopoulos again. Like every time he switches, he gets ex-gay or because he's ex-gay. If he gets ex-gay, then we will talk about him again. But this is it. So that's the problem with this. He gets a one-off, but he's going on a different circuit.
It was the final rabbit to pull out of his hat. And that's all he's got. Maybe Jimmy Dore.
Dave Rubin's like, ooh, damn, I was gonna do that in fall, Milo.
Son of a bitch stole my line.
I know. He really.
Well, I think Rubin is not going to promote that he's ex-gay. I think he's going to just I think the way that Rubin will do it is just like it'll come up at one point and like it'll literally be, he'll be being interviewed by his boss, Glenn Beck, and Beck will say, now you're ex-gay. And Rubin will go, oh, yes, no, I stopped being gay 6 months ago. And it was difficult because I realized that I thought of my husband, I realized he's more of a friend.
Well, no, I realize he's more of a producer. I mean, that's part of the issue that Rubin has is that he can't be ex-gay because then he'd lose the guy that writes all his scripts and does his show for him.
Well, no, I mean, he just you could still, you don't want to, you could just say you're my producer now, and that's it. We're getting divorced and you're my producer. It's not, stranger things have happened. I mean, I wouldn't want to work with my ex, in that way. That would be uncomfortable, but,
Okay.
could be a lot of cash.
Well, I'm
involved in
glad
that
you
for him.
solved that problem for him.